Today, on episode number 6 of Scrapbooking Tips and Tricks, we're going to be talking about working with a cut file. Hey everyone, it's Mari and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be really focusing today on how to use a cut file to create your project. And I started off here with a piece of Vicki Boutin's foundation paper. I primed that with some Prima clear gesso, and that's all dry now, and I'm ready to do a little bit of mixed media. Now I'm just showing you that I applied the gesso to my paper with this Prima silicone brush. And that, like I said, is all dry. I'm ready to take some mixed media. Now, this is the gorgeous cut file I'm going to be working with here today. This is from Etsy and it's from a shop called Handy Paper. And I'm going to back this cut file with papers from Vicki Boutin's Wildflower and Honey collection. I love this collection for fall, and these are fall photos that I'm going to be working with today. So to create this cut file, what I did was I put the cut file into my Silhouette Design Studio software. And what I did was I cut it so that it would really be a prominent part, obviously, of this layout. I really wanted it to be the main embellishment on the layout. And so to do that, when I was sizing it, I placed it in my design studio in a place on the grid so that I could see exactly how large that was going to be on a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And so using the grid in my design studio, I was able to sort of see then how large I wanted that to be in conjunction with the size of the photos I was planning to use. And then of course the size of the paper, which is 12 by 12. So here what I'm doing is I'm backing my cut file with some paper here. You can just see that I added some liquid adhesive to the back. I stuck it down to the paper, and now I'm just going to fussy cut around the edge of the paper and then back my pumpkins with this orange paper in that way. Super easy to do this backing in this way. It's a really easy technique to get a large area backed very quickly, especially when you want the same color of pattern paper on all of the areas of that cut file that you're working on. So the cut file was cut on some American Crafts textured white cardstock. I did cut this at a depth of 5 on my Silhouette Cameo, and I did set the speed on my Cameo to 3, and I did do a double cut so that I did end up with a really nice cut here to work with. Now, before I add my cut file to my project, I am going to create a little bit of mixed media on my base. And of course, that base does have that gesso on that so that I am able to add some water to that and some moisture, some liquid, so that it doesn't buckle my paper or doesn't damage my paper like it would if I didn't have some protection for that paper on there. So you can just see here, I'm adding some Vicki Boutin art crayon onto my project with some water. I sprayed my paper with water first, and now you can see there's that cut file all nicely backed with those pattern papers from Wildflower and Honey. And now I just want a base on my paper for that backed cut file. And I do really want this cut file to do most of the work on this project for me, so you can see how nice and large it's going to be on there. I'm not going to need a ton of other things to embellish my photos besides that large cut file. So I just want a base for that cut file to sit on. And so I'm using this orangey color, really fall theme color that's going to complement the pattern papers that I've backed my cut file with to then, be a home for that cut file area. So you can see here, I'm just trying to speed up the drying time of the mixed media here by dabbing up some of the excess moisture with the paper towel and also using my heat tool. I'm doing some splatters by just picking up that pigment with a little a watercolor brush here and just splattering that on. And that just adds a little bit of texture and interest to that mixed media area as well. Now, just as another layer on top of that crayon, I'm going to pick up some of the teal and green crayons that I've scribbled out onto my plastic here. I'm going to pick that up with a Vicky Bouton stencil brush. I'm going to go through that text stencil with that crayon, and it's going to just create another layer. And I really like this teal. I like how it goes along with the color scheme here. That is going to be that orange and blue fall color scheme that just seems to be really super popular, and I definitely love it. It's my favorite fall color scheme for sure. Now I wanted kind of three main areas of that text. I wanted it over to the right, up above, and then down to the bottom as well. So you'll see me add it to those areas, and I go back later once I put my cut file on here. I realize I want some more of that text down at the bottom, and so I go ahead and add that in. Now I'm taking a few strips of pattern paper from the different pattern papers from the Wildflower and Honey collection. I've got a strip of this really dark paper. It's almost like a black, and it's got kind of like little brush strokes of blue in it, it's really, really pretty. And I just am taking a really skinny strip of that. You can see the back side, which paper that is from that collection. It's the one that kind of has the honeycomb on the other side. And I'm going to stick just a really skinny, probably about a 1/2 inch strip on the far right side. And then you can see I have 3 strips of paper laid out on the left side. One is that kind of beige paper, craft color paper with the text on it, which is Vicky's handwriting. And I'm going to have a wider strip of that, and then 2 more narrow strips as well alongside this wider strip for the left side. And that just adds a little bit of detail of patterned paper to each side of the layout, and just is part of the base for my project here. But really, like, I will go back to my previous statement that the cut file here is really going to be the huge part of creating this project, because you know, I'm just doing a tiny little bit of mixed media below the cut file, a little wee bit of pattern paper on either side of it, and then the backing of the pattern paper with the cut file. And you can just see how the cut file just adds so much to this project, and I love using cut files in my layouts for sure. So yeah, I like how this is coming along. Now this paper here, this next strip that I'm going to apply, has all of those circles on it, and that is actually the manufacturer strip of one of the papers from the collection. So I didn't actually cut a strip off of that circle paper. That circle paper actually is my favorite paper, I think, from this collection. I just love it. I think it's super cool. The circles on that paper have all of the different designs from the collection in it, and I think it's just a really gorgeous paper. Love the colors in it as well, and it just goes along with the color scheme that I am using here on the rest of this project. Now I did take this layout down to my sewing machine, and I added some stitching to both of those side areas and also to my cut file. I just stitched around the outside edge of my cut file, and then 1 strip of stitching on the left and 1 strip of stitching on the right, just to add that little bit of extra detail and texture to the layout. Just finishes it off nicely. And here I'm just taking a little bit of craft foam. I'm adding that to the back of the cut file, and now I'm just going to apply some liquid adhesive here, and I will go ahead then and stick this down. Nice thing about that Honeybee liquid adhesive is it doesn't stick right away. There's a little bit of time for you to wiggle things around, which is great, because I wasn't 100% sure yet where I wanted that pumpkin to be, and so I'm just going to move it down a little bit. And now I've got my 2 photos printed at about 2.5 by 2.5, and they are going to go above the pumpkin. So you can see that glue's still not quite dry. I can still move that around a little bit, and now I have it positioned where I want. Now I'm going to add 2 layers of pattern paper behind each of my 2 photos, and I'm going to rough them up a little bit. I did put some foam adhesive directly behind each of the photos to pop the photos up on that pattern paper a little bit. And the pattern papers, once again, are from the Wildflower and Honey collection, and I'm going to just use my distressing tool on all of the different layers of the papers to give them a little more texture as well. So here, these are just going to go above my cut file. And so the cut file isn't so prominent that it takes over the photos. Obviously, you still really notice the photos, and the photos are really going to shine on this layout, but that cut file is just genius and sets the tone for the rest of the layout. And really, because it's a very thematic layout, we're out picking pumpkins, and this is definitely a pumpkin patch kind of a project. I wanted there to be pumpkins on the layout, and in fact, I did not have any pumpkin embellishments in my stash, and so this is why I went to the into finding a cut file for my project, because I wanted to have some pumpkins. Now, this is the sticker So Fun from the Wildflower and Honey cardstock sticker sheet, and I'm going to pop that up on some foam adhesive, and that is going to be my title piece. And I love how it is black, and that picks up on the, again, the black in the photo mat layers, and also that black strip along the right side of the layout, so that there's a repeated little bit of black here and there on the layout as well. So I'm going to stick that down, and now really there's just a little bit of simple embellishing required for the rest of the layout, just because you know, that cut file really is going to be the main star of the embellishments here on this project. However, I will say I am going to add some of those amazing butterflies from Vicky's specialty paper from this collection, which was the vellum paper that had the butterflies on it. And I did go ahead and fussy cut some of those out. So I am going to stick 3 of those butterflies on the project here, just using some glue dots, and exactly where I've placed them there is where I'm going to stick them down. And I wanted 3 just because of that visual triangle idea, and just kind of placing them, you know, just smattering them around the layout there. I love how it just kind of looks like the butterflies are flying across the page. Now I'm going to take a couple of the cardstock embellishments from the ephemera pack and just stick them, layer them behind the photos, just to add a little extra layer behind my photographs. And I will just take and just with my finger, just kind of like bend and distress the edges of those cardstock pieces as well. And this really beautiful frame, I'm just going to stick behind that one layer there on the left of the left photo. And I love how that just gives a little bit more texture and detail to the layers there on that side. So here I'm just kind of like eyeballing exactly where I want everything to go. And pretty soon I'll just be going ahead and sticking everything down and finishing up, adding just sort of like the last finishing details onto the project here. So liking how everything is looking so far. And now here you're just going to see I'm going to go ahead and get everything stuck down. So you'll just see me adding all of my different adhesive here to the different bits. And I do like using the glue dots behind the vellum butterflies here, just because you can't see the glue dots behind. And also the center of those butterflies is a foil, so you can't see that. You can't see those glue dots behind there, and they do add a little bit of extra dimension. Now I am going to just take a little bit of liquid adhesive and get all of those layers in the photo mat stuck down. So I'll just lift the edge of the photos up a little bit and just squirt that liquid adhesive in behind there, and just a tiny little bit. I don't want too much liquid adhesive behind my photos, just because that liquid adhesive will warp things a little bit. So I'm just being, you know, frugal with the amount of liquid adhesive I'm putting behind there. There you can just see how I'm roughing up the edges of the ephemera pieces that are behind the photos there, and that is going to just finish that up. And now I just wanted to go into some of the other embellishments that are part of the collection and see if I couldn't use some more of the different bits up. This is one of the border stickers that is on the cardstock sticker sheet, and it says "Best Kind of Day" repeatedly all along that strip, and I just thought that was perfect for along that right edge. And now I'm just taking some of the little sentiment stickers as well. I'm adding one to each side of the two photos. So one to the photo on the right. So I'm just going to add a sticker to the right edge, and the photo on the left, a sticker to the left edge. So the one says today and the other one says memory. And I love little phrase stickers like this. And Vicky usually includes this kind of sticker in her collections. I love them, and they just, I think, add the perfect little extra bit of detail to your layout. So I'm just going to take my tweezers and get those two little phrase stickers added in there. I just want to make sure that I get those on there straight, and you can even go in with a little bit of liquid adhesive and add these in as well, just so that they don't come loose in your page protectors once you get this into your album. So I'm just going to put that in there, and that's going to finish off those two little side areas of those two photos. And now I am ready to move on. Now I did want to do a little bit of extra to that little bottom right hand corner. So you can see I've added a little tab sticker with a little, it has a large circle area on it. Now I'm just going to grab one of the circle stickers from the cardstock sticker sheet. I have added, or I'm going to add a little foam dot to the back of that so that it has a little bit of dimension. And I will stick that down where that opening is on that sticker and get that all placed. And the last thing that I wanted to do here was just add, let's see, I know I'm going to add some splatters, but I'm also going to add the journaling at this point. So I have added a couple of little strips of type journaling here. Just type these out on my computer. And now you can just see that I am going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive to each of those two strips and add that down as my journaling. And it's just documenting what we were doing here and when. And it's just really simple journaling there. I'm just going to take my T-square ruler and make sure that I have those strips straight in that way. And so that is going to just make sure that I don't have things placed on there so that they are not straight, which is annoying. And so I'm just going to get that stuck down using that Honeybee Stamps liquid adhesive again here, which is just really nice adhesive. This is the Vicky Boutin Creative Effects that is the it's that really beautiful blue color. This one is called Prism Glaze in, I guess it's just Creative Effects Prism Glaze. I was thinking there was a certain color to it there. So I'm just adding that down onto some plastic, and then I will just water it down with my spritzer and pick that up with a little bit of, or pick it up with my watercolor brush, and I will just splatter that on. And the really beautiful thing about this glaze is it's just like this gorgeous iridescent. It almost kind of has a little bit of a gold tone to it or something. It's so pretty. I love this medium. And you can just see there, I'm just going to add that in, and it's just going to add just a really pretty bit of detail to the project. And I love how this looks when it's all finished. So just going to splatter that on, and my project is going to be finished. So I hope you gleaned some inspiration and got some ideas for using a cut file on a project in the future. I love using cut files in my scrapbooking. Always love how it turns out in the end, and this is no exception. And so I'm just going to finish up my splatters, and this is going to be finished. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Have an amazing day. Take care, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.